Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the action thriller films from 2023, titled In the Land of Saints and Sinners. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens up in the year 1974, in a small town in Northern Ireland, where two mafia group members enter a local bar. Unbeknownst to them, a criminal lady, Doireann, accompanied by her brother Curtis, and their associates Harry and Ron, strategically positions themselves at a distance. Intent on a sinister plan, Harry and Ron plant a bomb near the bar, and calmly walk away from there. But then, Doireann spots a group of school children playing near the rigged car. Realizing the imminent danger, she shouts at them to run away. But unfortunately, it is too late as the bomb explodes, resulting in the tragic deaths of the mafias and the innocent children. Doireann, Curtis, Ron and Harry make a hasty exit in a getaway car. Afterwards, we are introduced to our main character, an elderly man named Murphy. He is currently engaged in shotgun practice with the local sheriff, Vincent. A skillful marksman, Murphy outshines the sheriff in the competition and wins the bet. Following this, they head to Murphy's residence, while talking about the growing crimes in the town. Later that evening, Murphy enters a crowded bar to have a couple of beers. For some reason, he is also holding a picture, where a person's face is circled. The bar's announcer brings on a famous singer named Bart to the stage. The guy wastes no time, and starts impressing everyone with his amazing skills. Surprisingly, we learn that the photo Murphy is holding is of none other than Bart. After a while, he drives to a secluded spot near the forest. He then opens his car's trunk, revealing Bart trapped inside. Armed with a shotgun, Murphy leads him to a hillside, hands him a shovel, and instructs him to dig. The singer follows his orders, and soon realizes that the area is a makeshift graveyard for Murphy's victims. Bart then inquires with Murphy about how many people he has killed to date, but the latter remains silent. As the two engage in one final conversation, Bart reveals that he had a troubled youth. He was a hot-tempered lad who may have angered a few people, but now, he has put all of that behind him. Deep in thought, Murphy seems to reflect on his words. However, the moment takes a dark turn when he abruptly shoots at Bart and ends his life. He then buries the singer in the same pit he dug, and plants a tree as a macabre marker above it. At this point, it is evident that Murphy is a hitman, who kills people for money. Next, he heads to his manager Robert's house, where the latter's wife, Josie, greets him, and even inquires about his favorite dish and promises to prepare it for him. A new member of their team, Kevin, arrives there and grabs bread from Josie's basket, and Murphy doesn't like this, so he comments on the impatience of young people. Murphy then meets with Robert, and informs him that he has completed the assigned task. He also notices Kevin leaving in his car, and suddenly suggests his manager entrust all future contracts to the young man. Here Murphy opens up about his dark deeds since his wife's death, and he says that he now wants to stop the killing and do something else. He also reveals that his wife always wanted him to live a better life, helping and caring for others. This revelation shocks Robert, who inquires about his future plans, so Murphy says that he wants to pursue farming, where he can grow plants in the garden. Appreciating his decision, Robert hands over the payment for the completion of the contract and bids him farewell. The next day, Murphy begins farming outside his home. He clears the field, and also visits the town to buy different seeds. When he returns, he visits his kind neighbor, Rita's house, and joins her for dinner. The old woman is very happy to hear about his new venture into farming. She also questions his cooking skills, comparing them with his late wife. As the two continue talking, it becomes evident that they are slowly bonding over shared memories, and fostering a newfound connection. Afterward, Murphy goes to the other side of his neighborhood, where he encounters a girl named Moya. She is currently fishing on a bridge, and seeing her struggling, he provides her with a handkerchief to pull the nylon string. Here Murphy learns the girl was told to catch a fish for dinner. As the bait is being pulled, Moya accidentally drops her food box in the water, and then Murphy notices wounds on her neck, but the little girl just hides it and runs away. In the next scene, Murphy goes to meet Moya's mother, Alara, at her workplace. She is revealed to be a bartender. Murphy praises her work, and explains Moya's lunchbox incident, but he blames himself for distracting the child, and Alara understands. Later that night, when Murphy walks out of the bar, he encounters Moya, who wants to run away. He informs her that he has already explained to her mother that he was responsible for the lunchbox mishap. However, the girl remains silent, so he leaves it to her and walks away. The girl then decides to follow the man, but as soon as they reach Moya's house, her uncle, Curtis, appears outside, and Murphy senses something dangerous about this rude guy. Well, he's one of the guys who planned the bombing at the start of the film. It seems like they are preparing for something big. The next morning, Murphy brings a food basket for the little girl, and hands it over to Alara. The man sees Moya sitting alone, so he asks if she is okay. She appears to be afraid and hands over a bullet to him, and he asks where she got this. Our hero then inquires if the bullet has something to do with the bruises on her body, but the worried little girl remains tight-lipped. Curtis suddenly arrives, and as soon as Moya sees him, she rushes inside the house. The rude guy asks Alara for some food supplies, and indirectly refers to Murphy as a pedophile, before leaving with the food. Murphy then questions Curtis about his identity, and Alara reveals that her brother married Curtis' sister, and then promptly got himself killed. The woman also wishes that she could get rid of Curtis. In the next scene, Murphy shows Robert the bullet that Moya gave him, and requests Robert's help in getting rid of Curtis, mentioning the harm he's done to a little girl. Even after learning how Curtis threatens the child to shut her mouth with an engraved bullet, Robert still declines assistance. Later on, Murphy stalks Curtis from a distance, and seems to be planning something. On his way home, Curtis encounters Murphy, who offers to drop him home. Curtis nonchalantly accepts his offer, and during their conversation, Murphy reminisces about his own youthful enthusiasm for shooting, and asks Curtis if he likes guns. When the latter expresses his interest in the topic, Murphy claims that he has a great collection of rare ammunition. He then stops the car and shows Curtis a unique firearm hidden in the trunk. And when the man gets distracted,
"You want to hold her?"
Following this, Murphy drives Curtis to the forest to dispose of him, but as he tries to get him out of the trunk, the man attacks him with a knife. Murphy manages to shoot him, but before he can finish him off, the gun goes blank, and then Kevin appears out of nowhere and shoots Curtis right in the head. On being asked why he's here, Kevin reveals that Robert instructed him to keep an eye on Murphy. After this, the two bury Curtis, and head to a bar to unwind. While they talk, Kevin expresses admiration for Murphy's work, and reveals himself as a fan. He then claims that he kills when he needs money, but he still can't fight a body count like Murphy, calling it psychotic. This only enrages our hero, who declares that killing is no laughing matter, and that if he ever hears Kevin laugh at someone else's dying tears, he'll beat the shit out of him. 2 days later, when Curtis does not arrive at their usual meeting spot, Darren starts getting worried. So, she decides to go out and look for him. Soon, she arrives at Alara's house, and inquires about her brother, but the bartender reveals that she hasn't seen him either. When Alara lets out her frustration by saying bad things about him, the enraged Darren grabs her by her neck, and scolds her. She then checks Curtis' pistol, and discovers a missing bullet, making her even more worried. Following this, Darren leaves and contacts her contractor to inquire about Curtis, and she learns there's someone in the city who might help. In the next scene, Darren does what she was told and goes to Robert's house to talk about her missing brother, Curtis. Hearing Curtis' name, Robert acts as if he doesn't recognize him, and says that his men are unavailable at the moment. Unfortunately, when she's about to leave, Darren retrieves a bullet from the floor, and to her surprise, it perfectly matches the empty reloading space in her pistol. She then points the gun at Robert, and threatens him to reveal the truth. The manager admits that Curtis is dead, but clarifies that he didn't kill him. He is forced to reveal that a man named Murphy did it some days ago. As soon as Darren learns that her brother is no more, she shoots and kills Robert. His wife Josie hears the commotion, and rushes to the room, but she is stopped by Darren, who asks her to stay outside. Darren also reveals that her husband has been killed, and tells the devastated Josie to go back to her room. Following this, Darren and her goons are now hell-bent on finding the person who killed Curtis. Later, Murphy and Kevin learn of Robert's death from Josie, and Murphy first calms Josie down and assures her that they will handle everything. In response, she reveals that a woman was aggressively inquiring about Curtis. This makes the men suspect that someone is seeking revenge for his death. Murphy and Kevin then destroy all the evidence papers of their previous and upcoming plans, and Murphy advises Josie to call the police. Meanwhile, the bad guys are roaming around the town to find Murphy. Desperate to get some clues about his location, Deeren urges Harry to visit a shop, claiming to be Murphy's nephew. To his delight, the shopkeeper believes him, and gives him Murphy's address correctly. Upon leaving, Harry encounters Sheriff Vincent at the door. The latter, who is unfamiliar with Harry, questions his presence in the city. The shopkeeper mentions that the guy is Murphy's nephew, but Vincent has concerns about it. Soon, the group reaches Murphy's house, where they find his war photos. At the same time, Murphy is also on his way home when he notices the lights on in his room. Sensing something amiss, he urges Kevin to stop the car. The two then head to a nearby location, from where they can track the activities of the house. While waiting, Kevin reveals that he ran away from home. He then got into a fight at a bar and won it, which caught the attention of Robert, and this eventually led to his employment. Murphy shares his own story, explaining his transformation from a war-hardened soldier to a killer after his wife's death, and this is when Robert came calling. The following morning, Deeren is livid because Murphy hasn't returned home the whole night. She vents her frustration by damaging his car parked outside the house. Kevin witnesses this, and points his gun at Deeren, but Murphy stops him from shooting at her. Meanwhile, Rita walks out of her house and looks at Deeren. The gangster woman confronts her and asks about Murphy, but when the poor woman passes a mean remark, Deeren punches her in the face and knocks her unconscious. She then leaves the house with her associates. As soon as she leaves, Murphy and Kevin rush towards Rita, and carry her inside her house. Murphy then anonymously contacts the medical staff and summons them to treat Rita. Later, at Kevin's house, Murphy discovers a burnt newspaper which talks about the Belfast bombing. Curious, he goes to a shop, and buys the same newspaper to learn more. The article reads that the major suspects in the bombing case are none other than Deeren, her brother, and their associates. Afterward, Murphy discovers the group's hiding location, where they have built different explosives. He then heads to an ongoing football match, which is being attended by the entire city, including Deeren and her associates. At the open stadium, Ron learns that their names and pictures have just been published in the newspaper as suspects. This freaks him out, so he suggests leaving the country as soon as possible, but Deeren refuses, as she wants to take revenge for her brother's death. Meanwhile, Murphy tracks down Deeren during the match, and follows her when she walks to the restroom. But to his bad luck,
You're in my car.
Deeren approaches him from behind, and points a gun at him. At this moment, Murphy reveals that he didn't kill her brother, but knows who did. Deeren demands the person responsible, and Murphy agrees to bring him to the bar that night. The gangster woman agrees to it, but threatens to bomb the entire bar if he doesn't arrive in time with the culprit. In the evening, Murphy informs Kevin of his plan to meet Deeren at the bar. He says that he has no choice but to kill her. This makes Kevin excited, as he has always dreamt of working in such a mission. Later that day, the two meet outside the bar. Kevin brings guns, however, Murphy says that he doesn't need them because he has his own tools. He suddenly hands the boy some good amount of cash, and asks him to start a new life elsewhere like California. He urges Kevin to leave the fight behind, and tells him not to waste his youth doing this anymore. Hearing all this, Kevin becomes emotional, as no one has ever been nice to him. He thanks Murphy before departing. Up next, Murphy enters the bar, and talks with Vincent for a while. When the curious sheriff inquires about what he does for a living now, Murphy says Vincent doesn't want to know. Soon, he finally notices Deeren, and approaches to talk to her. Meanwhile, we see Ron walking towards the bar, while carrying a suspicious bag with him. As Vincent goes outside to smoke, he notices Harry in his scratched car. The sheriff then goes inside, and finds Ron carrying a suspicious bag with him. On the other hand, Murphy and Deeren engage in conversation. He wants them to go to the backyard to discuss the matter, but she threatens to shoot him if he moves even an inch. All of a sudden, Kevin arrives there, pretending to be interested in her. When she keeps rejecting him, he mentions her name, taking her by surprise. Kevin even boasts that he's the one who killed her brother. Unfortunately, this only enrages Darren and she ends up shooting him in the abdomen, and a tense shootout ensues inside the bar. While the people are running outside, Vincent discovers a bomb in Ron's bag, but Harry intercepts him. Kevin manages to shoot Darren, and in the chaos, Murphy also manages to shoot Ron. Up next, he subdues Harry before he can detonate the bomb. Harry is shredded to pieces, while Kevin, who is slowly succumbing to his injuries, encourages Murphy to move to California with the cash. Just then, Darren shoots him in the head, killing him. Murphy moves to pursue Darren, but he is stopped by Ron, and so he angrily kills Ron in retaliation. Moments later, Darren walks out of the bar, and Murphy follows her. After a while, they reach a church, where she requests him for a straightforward shooting as a form of repentance for their sins. Murphy agrees, acknowledging their shared guilt. However, Darren dies due to excessive blood loss. Later, Murphy buries her in the forest, and plants a tree on top of her grave. In the final scene, he meets Rita, seeking forgiveness for not sharing his past. Rita assures him that no explanation is necessary, and the movie ends with Murphy expressing gratitude and departing, embarking on a journey to find a new life. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.